maybe you can tell us, what do you think of the importance of such an event, thinking that it's 26 years. So do you think that, it has gained ground and the importance of such an event?
Well, there are two things that I'm very happy to see today. First, I think the youth have come forward as a group to reiterate and reinforce their understanding of the family. That's very important. The second thing is that actually in this event, as you have seen just now, the youth taking the leadership in organizing this. So this is a very good testimony of what they believe in and how we can harness the energy of the youth to do meaningful things and purposeful things for the community. As to your questions, whether it has gained traction, yes, I think it has, but we must never be complacent, because as I said in my speech down there, the challenges are constantly evolving on the institution of the family in our society. So we must never rest on our laurels and continue to find new ways to grow the family as an institution, to bond the people within the families and so forth. Yeah.
With your responsibility as a minister and MP, and you have your grassroots events and your MPS, now how are you making time for your family?
Well, you make sure that you remain connected with them. Infocom technology helps a bit, but I think, as I said in my speech, nothing beats a real time spent with them. So you plan your family into your daily routine. For example, for me, no matter how late I go back at night, whether it's past midnight, I will always wake up in the morning and make sure that I send my kid to school. If let's say that I have some time before my community events after work, then I will try and make sure that I get back to my house and spend some time with them. In the event where I really cannot be physically there, then always sometimes SMSs, phone, all that helps a bit. And of course, you set aside time, especially over the weekends, to spend some time. I mean, my family has a very simple routine. Every Saturday evening, we will try to go out as a family, whether for a simple meal or to do something together with my parents, my in-laws, and my kids, and likewise also for Sunday night. So there are some time that we set aside for our family to make sure that we maintain a sense of balance. And I think everybody should try to do that as well, to the best of our ability. Yeah.
We've seen some, the need to engage youth this time around. Why do you think it is? You mentioned that it's not because youths are not, connected to their families. You mentioned a bit about some surveys and stuff like that. You say that they have the positive values to push these positive values to the next generation.
Yes.
But we have seen some problems with the youth, like in recent months. How would you tackle that moving
What
forward?
are these problems that you are referring to?
Those violence and all that recently, and so maybe how would you move forward this engagement with youth as acting minister?
I see. I think when we look at it in context, every generation will have its challenges, regardless of which strata of society, whether it's youth, the older ones. I remember during my time as a youth, there were also gangs, fights, depending on where you stay. The neighborhood can be a bit complicated. So every generation of youth will go through their stage in life where they face different challenges. I think what we want is an attitude not to judge them and say that, oh, this generation is like that, that generation is like that, or this generation is better than the other one. I think what we just have to accept and recognize that every generation has its own challenges, and the way that we manage some of these issues will have to evolve with the generational change. So the way that we engage the youth today will be quite different from the way that we engage the youth in the past. For example, just by a simple example, the technology has changed. In my generation, when I was young, we didn't have the computer, we didn't have the internet, we didn't have SMS, Twitter, Facebook. So the way that we interact, the way that we engage the youth, our town hall meeting, we sit down together, that is still important, that is still valid. Nowadays it's a bit different. Nowadays you have more means to do it. You have your Twitter, you have your Facebook, you have your SMSs and things like that. But as I was saying in my speech, all these technological advancements are but means. At the end of the day, they cannot deliver hugs and kisses to not yet, at least not yet. So it's still important to have a face-to-face time to really engage and sit down, talk to each other heart to heart, look at each other in the eye, and beyond the SMSs. And one of the things that I always worry about is that because it's so convenient, and precisely because it's so convenient, sometimes people forget to really set aside time for the family, because you say that, oh, why don't I just SMS and say I love you? Why don't I just send you? I write on my Facebook. I think all these are important and useful. But at the end of the day, we also want people to physically be there, physically and emotionally be there for the family. So you will start engaging youths by new media then? Would you be doing that more? Oh yes, we have been doing that, and I will continue to do that. It's just an additional channel for us to do that. So for myself, I try a variety of instruments. From the older fashioned one, I have my town hall meetings with youth. I have, like next Friday, I'm going to have a policy discussion with the youth to share with them and to hear their views on things. So that one is a bit more traditional. But in working this traditional means, I have used the newer means, which is I use the Facebook to invite them. I will write on my Facebook and post my thoughts once in a while to share. At the same time, I also want to hear what the views are of our youth. So it's just a different platform to reach out to different stratas of society.
What policies are these going to talk about?
The last one we did was on education, university education to be specific. So the participant of that particular session got the chance to vote on their next topic that they want to discuss. So it's actually entirely up to them. I'm but the facilitator and the instrument to bring out the ideas in them. So this next time, the next Friday session, they have chosen to discuss housing. So I say, okay. So I don't know much about housing, but together we can pool our ideas together about the issues of housing, and then we will probably have an interesting and fruitful discussion. I think one of the things that will need to evolve is that in the past, you might go into a discussion or a forum thinking that you must know all the answers. I go in with a slightly different attitude. I go in that there's a canvas that's on the wall, and all of us can collectively paint on the canvas. At the end of the day, the picture that we have is a collective effort of what we have. So people will have ownership of the ideas, people will have ownership of the conclusions that they draw from the discussion. We don't have to always agree on everything, but at the end of the day, we are all walk out from the session a bit more with a bit more understanding of all the issues involved, and so that next time when we need to make a decision, we can have a considered and in-depth discussion of the issues.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry?
Netizens tend to be a little more critical online. How do you tend to engage this?
I think those feelings are just part of the whole spectrum of feelings, and I think netizens are also quite sensible in their own ways. I mean, most of the time, at least on my Facebook, I don't have to go in and answer most of the questions, because when the youth post a certain way of thinking or express certain feelings, then you have other youth that provide a certain different perspective. So I think they will just find their own ways of discussing, and I think you can harness all this. We don't expect everybody to think similarly, and I'll be quite sad if everybody has is only thinking of one particular way. But our job as leaders are to make sure that it's not to provide the answers, but is to bring out the answers from everybody, which is perhaps already in their mind. That I see is that is how I see my role.